In this presentation, I will be talking about the tipping etiquette and culture in Spain. Before arriving in Spain, I consulted websites such as TripAdvisor for advice on Spanish etiquette for tipping. TripAdvisor's website advised rounding up to the nearest euro, if anything, when tipping, or leaving a euro or two if the service is incredible. This was my view on tipping in Spain, and I definitely experienced this practice of tipping upon my arrival in Spain. This was a major adjustment for me since I had grown up always tipping 20% on the total bill in the United States. Before I begin talking about my research, I believe it is important to define what exactly is a tip. In this definition of the Spanish word for tip, or propina, it translates to money that is given voluntarily apart from the price agreed upon for some service. In this picture, you can see that the bill is for 12.25 euros, and that the person paid exactly 12.25 euros in return. This is in fact an accurate representation of how one would pay for their check in Spain. Unlike the United States, where not leaving an additional tip would be considered extremely rude, this is a common practice in Spain. On the YouTube channel Spain Travel Guide, a local tour guide in Barcelona describes what she calls the relaxed tipping policy in Spain. She states that tipping around 5% is completely acceptable in Spain and that it is common practice there, but not at all required. On the website for El Consejo de Ministro in Spain, I found that the daily minimum wage salary in Spain for 2018 for a waitress is 24 euros and 53 cents, which is about the equivalent to $30.14 US dollars, compared to the $17.04 that a server in the United States makes. This is nearly double in Spain. Spain is known for having long, drawn-out lunches late in the day. One of the reasons for these prolonged lunches is that there is not as much of an emphasis on turning tables for waitresses and waiters in Spain. The reason for that is that the waitstaff is paid on an hourly fixed salary that is high enough that they do not need to rely as heavily on tips. Since tips are not as emphasized in Spain, waitresses and waiters have no problem letting customers take their leisurely time to converse and enjoy their lunch. An article in the newspaper El País discusses the dilemma of whether or not to leave a tip in Spain as well. To my surprise, this article mentions that it is better not to tip at all rather than to give small loose change to your server. This is considered to be an insult that many foreign visitors to Spain make. It is assumed that in these source texts that one is not required nor expected to tip in Spain due to the fact that waitresses and waiters are paid on a fair and fixed salary. If this was not true, it would be incorrect not to tip, as Spanish waiters and waitresses would then be in the same situation as U.S. waiters and waitresses, where they solely rely on tips for income. As stated previously, my hypothesis is that there is less of an emphasis on tipping in Spain because waiters and waitresses have an appropriate fixed salary and do not need to rely as heavily on tips as servers do in the United States. This tipping culture in Spain thus leads to a more relaxed mealtime since waiters and waitresses do not feel the pressure to turn tables. I'm able to support my hypothesis with statistics about the minimum wage salary in Spain, since these statistics show that waiters and waitresses in Spain do not necessarily need tips to support themselves. It wasn't until I read the minimum wage policy in Spain where I had my aha moment and understood why this is the tipping policy in Spain. This project has definitely opened my eyes to the differences between Spain and the United States in terms of tipping etiquette and the reasons why the two countries have had their different tipping cultures. It would be interesting in a future project to see which system waiters and waitresses would prefer, either a fixed salary and no tips, such as in Spain, or a very nominal salary with a reliance on tips like the United States.